Welcome to the Funky Fresh Garden Show here on KYGT The Goat 102.7. This is the Girl Goddess, your host, and my co-host Shane.
What's up, everybody?
So today we don't specifically have a show. We actually have some special clips that we recorded, 2 weeks ago now? 1 week ago?
Last week, I thought.
I don't know, days.
We crammed it in.
Crammed it in there.
We spent a whole day just recording with Jair from Gavita, and he is just an encyclopedia on his own. So
yeah,
we got as much as we could and broke it out into some clips. And
yeah, so I'm just going to play a couple of those. I put 2 of them together. We did one talking about reflectors, one about all kinds of the different aspects of lighting.
Yeah, he's a brilliant guy.
We just want you to hear him.
Yeah, he's definitely, like, even myself, I've been in this industry for a long time. You know, he's somebody that I really enjoy being around to really learn something from myself instead of being the one to teach people stuff.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
All right, so I'm going to set that up for you and play a little song really quick, and then I will get that rolling. Grow Goddess here on KYGT The Goat 102.7. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Our show is intended to connect growers and gardeners with industry experts and their expert advice. My goal is to inspire people to not only be interested in the things they ingest, but how to grow it themselves and the science behind it all.
No.
This is one episode in a series featuring Jair, co-owner of Gavita. Gavita is the oldest horticultural lighting company in the world. 30 years in the business, they are a Holland-based company, and their products are also developed and produced there. In 2002, they put out the first electronic ballast. Nowadays, commercial grows are popping up everywhere. Gavita has the most experience with commercial growers at a scale of 20 to 40,000 lights. They love to bring and share knowledge with growers, which is what makes them a global market leader in horticultural lighting. In studio with me, as usual, is my co-host Shane. He's a gardener with a wide array of technical knowledge and also runs a horticultural consulting firm here in Colorado. And the man of the hour is Jair, co-owner of Gavita. He's going to be educating us on all this fun stuff. So this episode is going to focus on reflectors. Everybody say hi.
What's up, everybody? This is Shane.
Yeah, this is Jair. Nice to be here. Thank you guys for having me around.
Yeah, glad you made it to the mountains.
Yeah, not a little rainy today. I'm a little underdressed, but I didn't expect the weather here to be so different. So, but actually it looks like home. I mean, this weather is what we got at home. So
yeah.
So I thought a little bit of a discussion that is where there's not a lot of knowledge actually at this moment in the industry is on reflectors. It's something somebody buys at the store and pretty much hold on to for 5 to 10 years, and there's not a lot of knowledge about reflectors and degradation on reflectors. I mean, everybody changes their bulb, and you see that, and they do that depending on the quality of the bulb, they do that every 3-6 months to a year. And on reflectors, nobody actually looks at. I mean, it's hard to find people actually cleaning their reflectors at all.
Right.
And just something that was really, when we started here in hydroponics in the U.S., something what was really different for us was the way they use microaluminium. And you have to understand that micro degrades. It just goes down. It wears out. I mean, the heat of the bulb and the dust and the sprays and pretty much everything that you use pretty much degrades the bulb. It degrades the reflector. So we measure those reflectors because in professional horticulture we measure those, and the losses are depending on how polluted the area is. It's about 2 to 5% a year. Now you have to understand, if you look at the positioning of the lamp inside the reflector, the most part of the lamp is actually through the reflector. Just a small part of 40% is direct lighting. Right. So you have to think of 60% of your light hitting a dirty mirror. And so and it's very simple. If you lose 1% in your reflectivity of your reflector, you actually lose 1% of crop.
Sure.
And now I can understand that a lot of people have like really expensive reflectors, and I understand the problem on that. But that, for anybody who thinks, because I had a lot of discussion with growers and said, well, I don't believe the story. I got my reflectors 4 or 5 years, and they're performing great. And I'm like, okay, that means you're a pretty good grower. First thing, because if you have a low efficiency situation and you still perform pretty good, that means that you're doing pretty well.
Sure.
And I think he had 20 lights, and this was somewhere in North California, like a couple of years ago. And the guy was running reflectors, and I pretty much bought a new one for him from the same brand that he was already had running. And I brought the reflector to him, and he's like, okay, I will hang it up. You buy me a new reflector, I will do the test.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he had about 30% more yield.
Just from a new reflector.
Just from a new reflector. So it's a reflector is everybody is very focused on the lamps and way not focused enough on the reflector. Yeah. I mean, you have to understand how many people there are out there that have the reflectors for a long time. I mean, just cleaning them is not enough. You have to, like, at least once every 2 years, you have to change your reflector. That is just a minimum.
That's interesting, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who don't.
Absolutely. I know growers, here in the Colorado areas that, they've been in the game since medical started, and they've had their lamps 5 years, or their hoods 5 years.
Yeah, that is such a shame. You're losing so much. So, and actually everybody knows the story, and this is a really funny story because everybody will go like, oh. So you have the story about the grower, and he buys this whole new setup, and he cracks it the first 2 times.
Right.
And then it goes down, and he changes his bulbs and his filter, and he's like, I can't get it to those first 2, 3 times when my room was really doing well. Pretty much, he looked at everything except his reflector.
Sure.
And everybody who built his room that in the first 3 times he hit it hard, and he could never get back to that part. It's time to buy new reflectors. Like, seriously, you can scrap it. Please don't give them to your friends. I mean, that's the worst thing to give to your friends. I mean, you can't do that. It's like giving your friends lamps that burned for a year. I mean, you can't do that. I mean, pretty much it's crap.
I think that's kind of the beauty of the Gavita platform, is just that you guys have the interchangeable reflector. Nobody else in the market really offers that.
Well, a reflector should be good, so I can tell our reflector is good. Size has nothing to do with the efficiency and the pattern that a reflector make. That is a little bit of, I know that we do it a little bit different, but if you look at our measurements, we outperform many other reflectors. And if you replace a Gavita reflector, actually, that's only I think a full retail is like a $35 part.
Right.
And we do this in big greenhouses where we have like, let's say 5,000 or 10,000 lights, and once every 2 years for tomato growers, we come by and we change all the reflectors and we change all the lamps. I can tell you, if that wouldn't be interesting for a tomato grower, so a tomato grower does replace his reflectors.
Sure.
Because he knows he wants to be efficient. And we're growing tomatoes here. We're making money growing tomatoes under lights. So, I mean, for anybody having a cash crop, that should be way more important. I mean, that should be like first thing, lamp, reflector. Those are the 2 things that make sure that the energy you put in is also coming as light on your product.
Absolutely. If not, it's wasted energy.
It's wasted energy. And I can tell you, I mean, people with inefficient systems have a horrible carbon footprint. It's not just that you're getting less yield, but you're actually screwing up with environment.
Right.
I mean that's something you have to think about. If you're 10% less efficient, you're wasting 10% of your energy. I mean, that's just morally wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
it's wrong for your wallet.
Yeah, your wallet.
And it's morally wrong also. I mean, there's so many good ways to look at it.
This segment will focus on different aspects of lighting, including spectrum, PAR, photosynthesis, lumens, photons, and all kinds of good stuff. In studio with me, as usual, is my co-host Shane. He's a gardener with a wide array of technical knowledge and also runs a horticultural consulting firm here in Colorado. And the man of the hour is Jair, co-owner of Gavita. He's going to be educating us on all this fun stuff.
Hi, guys.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really interesting to get a little bit of knowledge on photosynthesis and on the way to measure light and a little bit on how light actually works. And the reason why we have this knowledge is because if you're making horticultural lights and you know what the plant needs, you can specifically create things for the plant. There are a lot of stories around there on how things work. I think let me start up with things like lumens. I mean, in the last 20 years in this industry, lumens is being used as the standard of measuring light. And well, actually, in horticulture, we've moved on already pretty much a long time ago. And the reason why is the measurement of lumens is actually the part of the spectrum that can be perceived by the human eye. I mean,
Right.
lumens are for humans.
Yes.
Yes.
Based
Yeah.
on visible light.
Based on visible light. And I mean, if you want to light a house or you use street lighting, lumens are definitely still the most important way to measure because that's where we need visual light. With plants, it's different. I mean, plants have no eyes. They couldn't care less about visual light, I mean, honestly. And the plant uses actually a wider part of the spectrum and sees more, well, it's not seeing, but actually takes more colors than we can see, and uses those in photosynthesis. And that part of the spectrum we actually name PAR, photosynthetic active radiation. That's where we take a look in what a plant needs to do. Now, spectrum, that we all know, spectrum has nothing to do with your yield. I mean, completely nothing. Spectrum has to do with plant morphology, the way the plant grows. And everybody knows that because a blue light, like a metal halide, will keep your plant nice and short and bushy.
Yeah.
And an HID light actually makes your plant shoot.
Yeah.
The reason for this is that most photons are emitted through the red light. This is the reason why we use red light, and I will come back to this. So if you measure a light for plants, you want to emit as much photons as possible. Photons is the thing that gives your weight. That has nothing to do with the spectrum. So the photons that give you actually the weight that you want. So you need to emit as much as possible. So pretty much if you take photosynthesis, and that's what it's all about, that's where you get your weight from, 8 to 12 photons make one CO2 molecule go into sugar. That's photosynthesis in a bare nutshell. It's a really difficult thing to understand how it works because it's actually way more. It's way harder than just that one sentence. Yeah. But I think you can
absolutely. Even in college, they teach us that's a chemical equation. You have CO2 plus H2O plus oxygen through light yields sugar. That's a chemical equation. We can literally break it down to that scientifically.
So you see a lot of people working with CO2. You have to understand that if a plant can uptake CO2, it has a lot of to do with the right amount of photons. That means it means that a lot of people, if you don't emit the right amount of photons, and you don't know your exact light levels on your plant, that actually the CO2 you emit
is a waste.
A total waste.
If you're not using it properly, absolutely.
So how can we measure light? Well, there are two ways of measuring. First is the way of measuring just the light coming from the lamp. It's the way how you test lamps from one to another and how you can compare them. This is not something you can do at home. You need an integrated sphere called an Ulbricht sphere. It's something that every self-respecting lighting company has in-house.
Absolutely.
And it's pretty much you have a huge sphere where you put a lamp in the middle, and then pretty much you can measure all the emitted light from the lamp. And then you have a second measurement, and that measurement is done by a lot of people, and that's actually a measurement you can do like on your crop. So you have the system. That's not just the lamp you're measuring there. It's the lamp in combination with the ballast and the reflector. It's a totally different kind of measurement. I mean, if you want to compare lamps, you have to do it in the sphere. If you want to compare systems, well, actually, you can compare light levels through systems. That's what somebody can do. And it's really interesting to do that and see what kind of light levels you have. Don't do that with a lumimeter, because a lumimeter makes no sense. You buy a par meter. Par meters are actually, you will find a good par meter for $400. I mean, and that gives you an idea on your light levels on your plants. And make sure you don't measure 1 point, because you have to make a multi-point measurement all over to see if the uniformity is actually good.
Should be measured on a grid system.
It's definitely something that people should be investing in, especially with a
especially
high
these
dollar
large
crop.
guys.
Well, why not? You know,
why not? A cheap measuring tool. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, $400 is nothing for the proper equipment.
Yes, totally correct. And also some misconceptions on spectrum, like the green part of the spectrum.
Right.
I can tell you the green part of spectrum does something for photosynthesis. I mean, you have to understand that the plant is developed in millions of years by growing under sunlight. And that it's not as efficient with the green part of the spectrum as with the other part. Doesn't say it does nothing.
Sure.
So people that uses green lights to walk in, I'm okay with that, but just not the first 2 weeks after you flip your flower, after you flip to flowering. That's when the hormones has to be produced. Then it's what you need, the complete darkness in your room. I mean, after 2 weeks and the hormones of the plants are started, and you want to walk into your room and flip a little light on, probably there's not going to be changing a lot. It's just the first 2 weeks you really have to watch out for.
Absolutely.
So, what can I say? If you want to look at light measurements, if you want to see, look at the boxes on a lot of lamps that you will buy in the hydro store. Some boxes already put out the micromole. The micromole is actually the full amount of the photons emitted by the lamp.
Right. Micromoles is the correct measurement.
Micromoles is the correct measurement. Take a look at that. Take a look at the information. I mean, it's definitely something you want to take a look into as a grower, because, light is one of the most important parts in your garden. Without light, we're not going to grow anything.
And indoors, it is our limiting factor, so you have to maximize it.
Yeah, and there's also a nice thing. And that's actually something you guys have, probably the customers that already use Gavita have seen. The trick actually to make a really good horticultural light is actually, you have to understand that photons are emitted really easily by the red spectrum. That's why a lot of people took a really red HID lamp because it emitted a lot of photons and actually started running over plants. The thing what you get is you get a nice yield, but you get very stretchy plant. What we did differently in our double-ended Gavita lamps is actually we took the effort to actually emit photons, but also from the blue part of the spectrum.
Right.
And what you actually see now is a different plant morphology that not only you're going to get bigger yields, but actually you got to get thicker leaves with better cell walls, and you're going to get thicker stalks. It will keep it shorter.
The blue light's higher energy actually for the plant than the red light is.
And that's also
fantastic.
And that's also the reason that vegging under the double-ended is actually pretty good. It's not a problem because we adjusted the spectrum. If you build a lamp for plants and you build a lamp not to get the most lumens, because we're not aiming for getting the most lumens. I couldn't care less.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're looking for the amount of photons for the micromole, but actually also derived from the right spectrum.
Right.
I mean, even then, it would be pretty easy to derive the same amount of photons as a Gavita lamp, but then you probably have a really red lamp. It's hard to make it right. And we develop lamps for plants. You have to understand that, and that's also what you see in the price difference of lamps. I mean,
absolutely.
A real horticultural lamp is a low production lamp in compared to general street lighting.
Right.
Pretty much any cheap lamp you see is not a horticultural lamp.
Right.
And the reason why is the only one that you can produce an HID bulb that cheap is in general lighting because the numbers are way bigger. In a horticultural lamp, I mean, we're just a speck of dust compared to general lighting.
Sure.
So if you're looking for a cheap lamp, you get it from general lighting. That's also why you see the degradation after 3 months. Or you have to understand our bulbs last for 12 months.
Wow.
I mean, we have a degradation of 3 to 5% a year.
Yeah, and most of us are getting 4 crops in a 12-month period, no problem.
So, I mean, even when the bulb is like 150 $150, it's more expensive. It's actually a good deal. Otherwise, you should buy 2 or 3 bulbs a year. So actually, I know we're a little bit more expensive, but you get a bulb that's designed for the right spectrum. So, yeah.
Well, that's huge for big growers, too, is that long life.
It is. It's all about the bang for the buck, you know. Realistically, these big growers, they have to look at efficiency and cost and economies of scale and long-term growth, because at this point, nobody in the game is making money in the short term. It's all about the long term. So this is a huge, you know, trait to have in a lighting company.
All right. Well, thanks.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Funky Fresh Garden Show here on KYGT. The Goat 102.7. We just got done hearing a couple of the clips that we recorded last week.
With Jair from Gavita-Holland.
Gavita-Holland.
Yeah, you can tell he's a Dutchman.
I love it.
It's cool, huh?
Everybody loves a man with an accent.
Right? That's all right. In the horticulture world, being Dutch gives you credibility. I mean,
absolutely.
All the best growers in the world come from, Netherlands.
Well, I hope that you guys took something from that. It's quite a bit of information. Might not have been able to take it in as quick, but we're going to get it up on YouTube or something so that y'all can hear it. Probably tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. Depends. I have lots of things going on. We are getting ready for the Boston Maximilian Indoor Garden Expo. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, should be fun.
Whatever. We all know what it is.
Beantown coming up.
What?
Have a big party.
Yeah.
Beantown.
I'm pretty excited for the parties.
Yeah. Be fun. Funky Fresh Garden Show will be there. She's got a couple of goodies to hand out for you industry day goers, and
then we'll do some giveaways on the Facebook page.
And you're doing interviews, too, for the big companies?
We are.
You got all the new sponsors now. Doing well.
Yeah. So we got T-shirts and all kinds of goodies and things, and we're trying to get some money made for the radio station, too, because we are all volunteer ran.
Yeah, volunteer radio station, Clear Creek Radio.
Yeah, so we all are responsible for that and bringing in some help.
Help out.
So you guys can catch us at in Boston and then also at the Indo Expo in Denver.
At the Denver Mart, November 15th and 16th.
Yeah, we'll be hanging out there. Shane will be giving some seminars.
One seminar on Saturday. Basically the future of this industry. That's my seminar topic. I think I'm speaking like 2 or 2:30, a couple hours after Ed Rosenthal. So should be a good expo and lots of information. We'll
get the times and everything too up for sure. We're just thinking only a couple weeks ahead since we have so much going on.
Yeah, a lot going on. Halloween coming up.
Yeah.
Everybody get your costumes out.
I'm pretty excited for that.
Should be fun.
Well, I hope that we taught you something new and inspire you to get growing.
We have more Gavita clips coming up in the near future as well.
I'll probably have two more next week. We'll see. We might do a little thing where we do one each day of the week, have a Gavita week.
Yeah.
Something
fun.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We will be back next Thursday at 6 p.m. as usual here on KYGT The Goat 102.7.